Welcome back to the Bigwater podcast. We have Mr. Brett McComas. You may not know the name, but you know his work. He is the man. He is the guy behind Target Walleye. We're going to talk about some ice fishing stuff. We're going to talk about some open water fishing. Brett kind of lets it go, and he listens to some trap music like I do, so I think he's going to get a little jiggy with it. Producer dude, you know, I kind of like you, but I kind of don't. People say you're like Wilson. Do you know what I'm talking about?
From Home Improvement, the fence.
Yeah. Not like the Tom Hanks with the volleyball. Yeah. Any rate, so we've got a little different deal. I think you might like this guy, even though I don't know what direction. He's like me. He's all over the place. We've got Brett McComas. He's kind of the guy that's I kind of say he's the partial brains of it, but he's also just kind of the guy in the trenches doing the work for Target Walleye. You know about Target Walleye, don't you?
Yeah, Target Walleye. We look at their videos, and when you told me who the guest was, I looked him up, and I went, "Oh, that guy." I mean, I was well aware of. I didn't know his name, but I was well aware of him.
So I have a little bit of inside info about him fishing with Al and it not ending up well. So I think that there's a few things that we can kind of poke him with a little bit. Will you be an ally with him or an ally with me? Do we know yet?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is. Let's bring him in because he doesn't answer his phone really good. So since we have him literally on the line, we don't want to lose him. And let's see where Pandora's box we can open up today.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the Bigwater podcast, Brett McComas. I kind of want to throw you under the bus right out of the gate.
Please do.
So I recently saw you a few days ago. I don't know if we want to time this or not. Producer Drew will probably get mad at me when I do, but we were at the St. Paul Ice Show. Yep. And so now people know when this is actually taking place, I guess. And I saw you there and I said, Brett, you've been dodging me. You know, I've had Al Linder on this podcast. I mean, I think you're big timer and all, but I mean, you're not Al Linder. You're not, the Fred Zinks and the Cermellis. No offense, not yet. And here you are. I literally said, you want to tell him that I told you I was going to threaten you with physical violence if you didn't follow?
Yeah, because I had said, dude, don't feel bad. I have 3 or 4 voicemails from my mom I haven't listened to yet. And I'm sorry, Mom. I love you so much.
You told me you had 4 voicemails for his mom. Producer dude, he actually wanted to show me his phone. And I said, no, we're good. I don't want to see what's on there.
Yeah, you said, you know what the difference is between your mom and me? I'll punch you right in the face for not answering.
That is actually, ironically, producer, did you believe that I would say that?
I totally believe that. Yeah, that sounds right up your alley.
And you know what? The threat worked. I'm here.
Yeah, and you would even say that to someone you didn't even know.
Yeah, my sister got me a T-shirt for a pre-Christmas thing, and it says, "Let's give violence a chance." Swear.
I like her already.
Any rate, so okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get you warmed up a little bit. We've done this with a couple people, and I think you're gonna hit it good. I'm gonna hit you with 4, 5, 6 questions. Don't think. I just first thing off the cuff that comes right on there, so we get to know Brett a little bit better here. Do you trust fishermen that don't curse?
No.
Thank you. Biggest walleye ever?
Length 30 inches, weight. It bottomed out an 11.5 pound scale, so over 11.5.
We weigh him in Ohio. Brett, we weigh him here. Favorite fishing pro or personality or whatever you want to call it?
Absolutely Al Linder. He's the GOAT, man.
Okay, I like that. Least favorite species to chase after?
Rapid fire, shoot. Open water, panfish. No interest. But ice fishing, I'll walk 7 miles down a logging trail to try to catch a bluegill. So, I don't know. Trick question.
Yeah, okay, that was kind of slow. I think we're going to have to take the firing squad out, producer. But last one. Are you fake news? Because you're a media guy.
Ooh, no. I like to push the envelope a little bit and talk on subjects that other people don't touch. So I'm kind of the opposite, I think. I try to only, talk legitness.
I think so too. So people that maybe don't know what you're doing, we're going to get into the things a little bit, but I guess a little background. Brett is the kind of main guy behind Target Walleye. There's several people there, including the Linders, the aforementioned, but you're the guy that basically puts together that newsletter and most of the things that they see and a lot of that social media stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've put some absolutely wacky pictures up. I can appreciate some of these media guys. Now I got to deal with some straight shooters in this, and most of them are, you are not that way. So I appreciate that, right?
Exactly.
We were hanging lures out of mouths the other day, and you had me angling some Lakewood cases up and all that good stuff. I appreciate that because I think it's just so much more real and less boring.
Dude, just like to keep it light, keep it different, be unique. And yeah, like you said, I mean, there's a lot of great publications and websites and whatever out there that spit out a lot of information. And it just kind of depends what kind of mood you're in. If you want to read like something that's very to the point, here's what it is, here's what it isn't, that's great. But if you want to read something where you maybe learn, but also laugh at the same time, poke a little fun in something, maybe, I don't know, belly roll, laugh at a meme. Like we just try to keep it light, but let you learn at the same time.
Yeah. And I think, you're a flannel wearing Minnesota guy, right? And I don't really know what I am, an angry ginger, as producer dude often says, but I think both of us, it's fair to say, if somebody has watched the stories for like Target Walleye that you're putting stuff together, even just like ones from the ice show, me and you, we like some trap music. And I don't think anybody would ever suspect that. People usually look at me like, who got in here and changed your presets? Like, what's going on? But you get a little naughty, don't you?
Dude, I'm the same way. And the first time I ever came across your website, I remember scrolling down, seeing you doing a video with, what was it, hook shots? And it was like,
Casmeta.
Yeah, dude, Casmeta. This crazy rap starts bumping autoplay on the website. And I was like, I am watching this. I have to know, like, this dude's putting it out there. And then I downloaded the song on iTunes. But I'm equal parts, like, listen to Luke Combs, George Strait. And then the next song can be Tupac. Like, that's how my brain works. I can go just 0 to 100.
I don't quite work like that. My buddy Fred's like that too. You go on a road trip with him and it's like every other song. It's like, what? But anyway, nonetheless, my type of crazy. So how did we get here? I mean, you're a little younger than me. You've been doing this a little bit, but, a lot of people may or may not know, like I think we might've said there that, the Linders have an interest in the Target Walleye deal. It's kind of a digital takeoff of that or whatever. And it's really one of the only walleye only focused deals, right? So give me a little bit about, Target Walleye and then tell me how the heck you even got there.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like the bassing side of the industry has got so many platforms promoting it, right? And for years and years, the walleye world, ice fishing just had nothing. There was just this big dead space, this gap where there was nothing being put out there. And I wish I could say I came up with the idea for it, but I didn't. It was the Linders and Jay Kumar, who does the Bass Blaster, which is like the redheaded stepchild, cousin, friend thing of Target Walleye. had to sneak a little redhead joke in there, sorry. And yeah, somehow they got linked up together and made Target Walleye. And I just happen to be I'm like 50-50 fishing nerd, social media nerd. And they happened to find me on Instagram, actually, and which was funny because I wasn't even a walleye fisherman.
They dropped in your DM.
Yeah, dude. And I went to Lake Winnipeg and was posting pictures of lime green walleyes and caught their eye because they were looking for content to share and talk about in the email. And got to talking. I started helping them start a Target Walleye Instagram page, and just over the course of like a year or two, I went from helping them 5 hours a week with stuff to 10 to 20 to 30 to 40. And eventually it was like, okay, do I want to sit behind this desk at this bank and try to keep my eyes open? Or do I want to keep doing the fishing thing? Something had to give because I was doing 40 hours plus at each. And just crazy to think that if I would have downloaded Instagram, like that would have never happened.
Dude, I didn't know that. That's kind of crazy. But, and again, there are opportunities that I think truthfully, I've said this all the time, is if you really want to be in the fishing industry and you want to work, there's definitely opportunities. Just to the St. Paul show, how many people I was talking with. And it's like, you just have to be, when you get, I think the difference is a lot of people wouldn't have quit the bank job.
Yeah.
And you got to throw your balls on the table, and then you're like, but if you were, not married with no kids at the time, that makes it a little easier too. In fairness to all them guys out there that are trying to do that stuff, that makes it a little bit easier. But so
no, exactly.
I mean, the target walleye thing's going good. I think that, it's kind of like I wrote a print book a number of years ago and everybody said, oh, that won't work. And it did really, really well. And I mean, even literally weekly, we get people still asking about it or when can we get it or what have you again. And you might want to hold on, a little pre-tip for people that watch us here. But I guess what I'm setting up is there enough room for multiple players, do you think, in the walleye world? Like with tournaments and stuff like today, I saw an email today. I don't know if you saw this, that head-to-head fishing is no longer going to do the pro head-to-head.
I didn't even see that. I didn't check my email today yet.
Yeah, I know people, buddy. But it's that is going to be public today. So there's a little breaking news. But my point is there enough room, or why do you think target walleye is doing so well, or why there wasn't something before that? I mean, what's going on with the media deal? It just seems like it's so whacked. I mean, I joked with you about fake news, but what is it?
I wish there was a good, simple answer for that. I mean, I look how many people are obsessed with chasing walleyes. Up in the upper Midwest, obviously it's a smaller market than bass because that's like nationwide. But look how many people are just straight up walleye junkies, geeks, and like, where can they go to get more stuff, And I mean, I'd absolutely say there was more room for other players, and just like best case scenario, what everybody wants is just to grow the sport. Get more people walleye fishing, get more people talking about it, get more companies involved making stuff specific for walleye fishermen. I mean, there's tons of stuff that crosses over from bass, and they see that like, oh, now these guys are catching walleyes on Ned rigs and stuff. Pretty soon you get walleye colors in Ned rigs or whatever it is, And it's just the more the merrier, in my opinion. Blow it up, get more people fishing for walleyes and more opportunities for folks. Yeah.
I tend to kind of just call it like it is, or how I see it, right? And it gets me in trouble a lot, but so I think it's like the same thing. There's a lot of marketing directors, and these are it's not even controversial, because to me, guys like me and you and people and guys that I know, we talk about this. It's just when you get in front of a camera and you see the red light going, everybody stops talking about it. But a lot of marketing directors now don't fish. And there's a lot of people out there that are decision makers that don't fish. And, again, everybody privately talks about it. It's kind of like politics a little bit, but all of a sudden now when the red light thing's going, nobody wants to talk about it. And I understand that's a little bit. People are not as controversial maybe as some people others. But don't you think, like, case in point, like I'd helped design the greenback case for Lakewood. Okay. And I understand, like, the owner of Lakewood's a great dude. He fishes, he ain't no Al Linder or anything, but when he put it together, he kind of said, I'll give this a shot, because we had some other wins, and he just trusts me because he knows I just tell him I'm a straight shooter. Like, I do not bullshit anybody. You may not like what I got to say, but I do not bullshit anybody. And contrary to some popular beliefs, and so we put this greenback together. It's not a cheap case. I mean, it's $200 and some bucks, but it's got a lifetime warranty. It's made in America. I mean, it's ABS. And I'm not saying this to give a plug for this thing, because I don't have to. That's kind of where I'm going. The Sioux City show, we've had 2 shows, basic ice shows so far this year. The Sioux City show, it sold out the first day. Mm-hmm. It sold out, the second day at the St. Paul Ice Show. And they brought a truckload of them. I mean, well, not a trailer load, quite literally. And so I just wonder, at some point, are some of the people that are making these decisions just really disconnected from the me and you, or the other, Joe Walleye on Saturday? Is that part of it, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would absolutely come out. Like I can't imagine. I mean, there's people who don't have a fishing background who do a good job marketing in the fishing industry. But to me, that blows that blows my mind, because
you just opened the door.
Specifics. What's that?
You just opened Pandora's box.
Oh, right? There's so many specifics and stuff that it's like, if you don't know these tiny details because you're a diehard, like, it's going to come out down the road. Even if you're talking about building a product, a rod case, whatever. Like, dude, I was looking at that greenback case, and it's like the little details that if somebody wasn't absolutely diehard would go unnoticed. Like the heavy duty D-rings, every little aspect.
And rotating D-rings so that no matter which way, they don't pull on the stitches.
Right. And you only learn that from time on the water. And it's terrifying when there's companies making products that aren't diehard fishermen or don't have diehards, using them and putting them to the test and stuff. But I don't know. And they're like,
I hate to go down that rope because producer G is going to start giving me demerits. But
I'm already rolling my eyes. I've been rolling my eyes for the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, I don't.
You go down this rabbit hole every show, and I know it's important to you because
nobody talks about it, and it just it wears me out. I just shot a major show before I left for the St. Paul show, and when that was going on, there was somebody in town that was trying to shoot a show. And they came to me and said, we can't catch them. Now, listen, people out here, I've also done an awful lot of things. And when I hear people say, oh, Lake Easy, this and that, Lake Erie is an amazing place. There's 160 million walleyes. So they say nobody counted them. It's as good as it gets. But I'm going to tell you, there are times where it's a very lonely place because it's like going into the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And where do I go? And then when they bite in windows, they don't bite all day. I don't care where you're at. But it's as easy as it gets here. I'll tell you that. You do it the way I do it. It's a little more difficult, but I'm happier that way. But the point of it is we're talking not that just a few days ago, somebody has the balls to come to me. And I know these people just like I know you. And they're, hey, can you help? We need you to get us on this and do this and that for a personality, maybe part of a certain video channel, that's what he's known for. And they can't catch them. And you know what? I could go to Winnipeg or something and need some help too. I tell you what's going on. I don't ever, and make it like I'm the hero or something. I'll bring those people in. I'll have them on. I want that authority, to teach that or what have you.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays that the industry or media, which is why I hate media just about on everything, except for people that help us out.
And YouTube.
Yeah. And for if I need to fix my washer or something. But I really do kind of have a little bit of, I don't want to say hatred toward it, but I've got a little bit of anger because they're helping cover that shit up, plain and simple. You know what I mean? And I tell people all the time, producer dude is definitely rolling his eyes at this point, but I tell them all, I'm like, hey, don't hire a guy because that's like taking, it's like taking money out of your pocket. People go, oh, guy listening to this that works at Ford Motor Company. He's like, man, shut up. I'm tired of hearing this. Well, what if they hired some dude who didn't do his job on the assembly line next to you, but he was a famous pool player? And so he didn't have to do his job putting stuff together. So now you got to do twice as many when that line's rolling at the same speed. Right. And that's the same deal. I got to do other people's work because some guy has a following that he bought or whatever it is. It's kind of BS. But so we get off the tangent and producer who doesn't start texting me. Do you look for then when you're doing stuff with Target Walleye, you be honest with me, don't lie. Staying away from some of that stuff. I know you have to cover other things. I'm not saying that this is like you.
Well, see, if it's something that I know is going on, then yeah, I try to avoid it. But there's so many places to be looking and trying to find stuff, and I don't know the story behind everything. And what's funny is if I share somebody's video who that's the case, we have 200,000 email subscribers. I'll get 57 people replying to the email and be like, hey, I saw you shared Joe Blow's video, and then they'll leave some little dirt behind the scenes that, that bite was something, 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 something. It's like, okay, good to know. Maybe I should not share Joe Schmo's stuff anymore. Oh no, the truth always comes out. It's like, man, just be transparent.
Media stories. There's got to be, I don't want you to name names or anything per se, but there has got to be some shit. I always get these guys on here and please don't disappoint me. They always clam up. But when you're doing media events, especially, there's got to be some pro stories or some other media guys or something where you're just like, oh my God.
Oh, always. Yeah. I'm trying to think of a specific situation.
He's backpedaling, producer.
I'm not trying to backpedal. If I can think of a specific situation, I'll tell you. But I will just tell you offhand, there's some people that are not genuine themselves. You meet them in person and you're like, ooh, this dude is me, I, look at me.
Hey, you're talking to him right now.
What's that?
You're talking to that guy right now. Me.
Yeah, but he does it in a quirky, fun way, and he still sincerely asks you questions and stuff. So if I thought you were that big of a tool, I'd put you on blast.
Yeah, we might have talked about a few of those. I might have pointed. Brett is still nice, way nicer than me. I might have pointed a few out at the ice show.
Oh, there's a handful for sure. And
yeah, it was just funny. We're walking by, and I was like, Exhibit A, Your Honor. Exhibit B. Exhibit C.
And then to be the nice guy backpedaling now, good cop, bad cop. There's also a ton of like people you meet, and you're like, you are the same person on camera as you are off, and that's what you hope for when you're meeting any of your fishing icons, you know. But it's like any industry. There's always a couple bad eggs. Producer
dude's super cultured. So finish this quote up for me. Isn't it, what's the old quote of, don't meet your idols, you'll be just disappointed or something? It's back to like old music people.
Yeah, it's something like that.
It's a lot smoother than how you said it, but it's the same.
Right. That's why I went right to my man. And
I don't remember the exact quote what it is. But, you know, Brett brought up a point about being who you are. And, you know, I've never met Brett, but I've watched his videos. And he is exactly, in this podcast, in this recording, he's exactly the same as he is on those videos. You know, I was remarking thinking about when I was watching his videos, he's very calm. He's very deliberate. He just tells you like it is. And I think that is what makes those videos, you know, watchable, and someone wants to keep watching, because it's like having a friend, you know, helping you fish.
Ah, shucks. Thanks, producer dude.
Yeah. Wow. That's that good old flannel northern, you know, deal there.
Sure, you betcha.
Hey, my sister told me that I am the same personality on camera as I am in person. And I said, oh, thanks. She's like, it's not a compliment.
You know what you got going on would be really hard to fake all the time. So I know that it's
not fake. Trust me, especially when you're on the receiving end of it.
You would be exhausted if you were faking that.
Oh, thank you again. Backhanded compliments all around. Thank you. So you mentioned something about, and I had a little meeting there at the St. Paul Ice Show with a production company, and they were kind of asking, because they were, well, I'm not going to get into details, but basically about ice fishing, and it kind of spurred something, and me and producer dude were talking about it, and then when you brought up this bluegill thing, and when we started talking about, you know, you don't chase bluegills, even though you Minnesota guys, you know, despite the fact that the Wisconsin guys try eating them all, what is the deal with like open water, no dice? And you said you'll walk 7 miles to go get into some little pot lake that you can then legally access, and you'll smoke them up. Like, what is it with ice fishing? What is the deal?
We're psychos. We're full on psychotic freaks. Yeah, I mean, in a boat on a lake, you could catch 1,000 bluegills doing nothing, just going in the weeds and sitting there and a worm or whatever. And like, you couldn't pay me to do that. But like you said, tax forfeited land, looking up tax records, trying to sneak back in the middle of nowhere, and like that 1 10-inch or 7-inch bluegill, if it comes through a hole that's 6 inches big on 3 inches of ice, I'm down. And I obviously do not work out or walk 7 miles or exercise or anything. But if I have a fishing rod in my hand and it's ice, I am so down. But yeah, it's just, you got to be a different breed, man. I mean, you try to describe ice fishing to people that don't go, and it's like, why? What?
Which is exactly what I was trying to do to this production company guy. And he was like, and my explanation is this: I feel I'm not big into hunting. Not only because of time. I love waterfowl hunting and that, and I never got into the deer thing, but I'm not anti-hunting whatsoever, and I wish I had more time to do it, but I don't like doing stuff half-assed. So
yeah.
But my point is kind of like duck hunting and waterfowl hunting, goose hunting. I think it's the same with ice fishing. It's like an adventure. Like, especially we'll talk about, you know, like how I do stuff down here, and hoping you can come down and fish with us. But
yes,
I think that ice is like, I don't know, producer dude, what's your deal? When me and him shot TV shows, I don't know, quite a while back, we're in the Argos, it's pitch black, you can't see in front of you, you're in a whiteout. We had water coming up through the holes because the water was pushing so hard. You remember that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was one of my favorite days out there. And I think it's, you know, like what Brett said, I think it's the adventure of it is probably the allure of it. And just if you're out there, it's just cool.
It's like a hunting. It is an adventure. I mean, I probably could have the worst amount of success ice fishing and still be happy. Like if I was to go out and not catch anything all day in the open water boat, I would be a bear to be around. Like I'd have to kick baby seals, you know what I mean? And drink angel tears and stuff like that. But ice fishing, I'm pretty good with. Like, even I was telling this guy, I was like, man, I have made a lot of decisions. I've contemplated a lot of things. I've mentally ran through long-term goals and layouts in my head while I'm leaning back or stretching, you know what I mean, in an ice shack. And I'm fine with it. And anybody that knows me, and producer Dude will back this, I don't really sit still. I'm either 0 or 100. So the fact that I can do that is ridiculous. Now, I couldn't probably do it 5 months a year like you guys do, but I love the transition.
Dude, it is just a whole different world. That's so true, though. It's like yoga. And what a weird place to have that be your yoga, like -20, middle of nowhere. But yeah, in a boat, it's so much easier to track down and find fish, and you're disappointed if you only catch 10 or 8 or 20 or whatever it is. And it's like, man, Erie's a different beast. I don't know nearly enough about it to talk about it, but around where I'm at in central Minnesota, we have way, way, way more bad days ice fishing than good. You know? And it's like, man, why do we do this to ourselves? But there's just something special about it. And it's just like a switch flips in your brain where it's just a different world, man. It's just a whole different mentality. Even like keeping fish, right? Open water. I hardly ever keep fish. And would it ever be easier than being able to throw them in a live well, get home, they're thawed, your hands aren't cold, rip through them, but I let them go. And then there's something like I'm sitting on ice and I'm having a tough time putting this fish back down the hole because for some reason when I'm on the ice,
you earned it.
I want to set it there. I want it to sit right there, and I want it to be my little frozen fish pet that I'm going to clean later and regret I kept.
That sounded so creepy, but I know exactly what you mean.
Right, yeah. Like, why do I have this strong urge to kill?
I see him sleeping with it, like having it in his bed, like, yeah, hugging it. Like, this is my frozen fish pet.
And everything's harder ice fishing, even just the cleaning. You got to wait for them to thaw out or whatever, and you're trying to do it in your garage. Your hands are cold.
Dark to dark, man.
Yeah, it's always dark, right? But I don't know. Just something changes in your head when there's that skim ice over that water, and you're just in psycho mode.
You're just too young yet. You need to do it a little more. You're going to get grumpy and old like me, and you'll be like, yeah, I rarely keep them. And I think that one of my good buddies, at the ice show, I was telling a guy this. I said, I'm just not that mad at the fish anymore. I like being out there, and I like figuring it out. You know, I like being around with some good people. I like enjoy the camaraderie and the adventure end of that deal and kind of that whole aspect. And dead fish, I just don't get it. I mean, the people around me, they just have the entire back of their boat. They slime all their carpet up to throw 30 fish on the floor. And I'm like, what do you do with all these fish? Number one. Number two, is your wiener that small that you need to do that every day? Seriously.
Gotta catch them all, man.
Well, I mean, there's this thing called a cell phone now. It's got a better camera than what most people that were professional photographers had, you know, for 20 years. And I don't know. That's a whole other tangent. Producer Dude will probably shut the podcast down if I get going on that too much. But
he's in the background.
He probably is. So actually, I was doing another podcast at the ice show, and because I can't think back more than about 2 weeks sometimes. So and guys had brought that up about, and they were shocked that I kind of threw my Ohio boys under the bus. And just the guys like that I ice fish on a regular basis, they ice fish because they live on the lake, right? If they lived 50 miles away, they wouldn't be ice fishing. But they have the time. They're here. We're buddies. That's what we do. It is the social event. It is the camaraderie. You know what I mean? That's the deal. And those same guys, even though I love them, if they lived where you do near Brainerd, dude, they would never catch a limit of walleyes in 10 years. Okay. So I think the thing that some people don't understand is, and I don't know really where all these people listen to this from or whatever, but where you're at, it's kind of like Green Bay is the same thing. Those guys all promote all this walleye fishing. Well, hell, when you get there, the problem is you catch them for 10, 15 minutes in the morning, 10, 15 minutes in the evening. It's a broken clock deal. You can do no wrong for 10, 15 minutes. If you're real good, you might make that 30 minutes. Is that fair?
So spot on. And I was going to make it my mission this year to figure out how the heck to catch a walleye in some of these clear zebra mussel lakes during well, any time of the day that's outside of those flash bites. That's what we call them. The 30 minutes at sunrise until dark. Yeah, it's like if you're sitting there and you have a bait within 2 feet of bottom, you're going to catch a fish. But you have 5 or 6 opportunities in that 30-minute window, and you're hoping you capitalize on 3, 4 of them, and then you might as well leave, whether it's in the morning or night. And it's like, I need to make it my mission to figure out how the heck to catch a fish in the daytime, a walleye around here. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's dirtier water lakes and some of the big factories where your odds are better, but 99.9% of these lakes around here, flash bites are it if you want to catch a walleye.
And okay, so here's another thing. We had Matt Johnson on from the ice team a while back, and we had Al Linder on there. They both kind of brought this up about, live sonar. So I'm running Mega Live, and I kind of watching this, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm learning, or I should say I'm confirming things that it took me decades to learn.
Yes.
Because you have to have so many scenarios, and you're right. 2 out of 4 times you go, okay, maybe that's not a good deal, right? That's not enough science for me. But now you're watching this live. You're watching this fish physically swim. You're learning that you interpreted that 2D sonar on your flasher totally wrong, boys. Make sure you catch one of my ice fishing seminars. Shameless plug. I'll show you this. You think that fish is swimming down and away, but he's actually just going straight past you and coming back.
Yep.
I've learned so much with this live sonar. Now, people that are maybe, I love you fishermen, but there's some of you all scoundrels out there. Those people that just can't let them go.
Yeah.
Like Matt Johnson brought up the crappie bite. He's like these roaming basins with crappies that are really dumb, but they're really hard to find, and they're even harder to stay on. I would say almost impossible. But now 2 or 3 guys with live sonar, all scanning. I mean, dude, it's like, I look at it like it's like you little kids were running around in the backyard, and we're all hiding and throwing, TP in or eggs at the neighbor, right? Not that I would ever do that, but just work with me. And then all of a sudden, your neighbor's got a heat signature, you know what I mean? And he's sniping you off. I mean, that's kind of like what's happening.
Dude, big time with the crappies for sure, because those fish just were unpressured forever, right? Unless it's a super small basin that you can drill 125, 150 holes and hop and finally track them down. But like some of those bigger basins where like those fish would be untouched all winter long, that's where I see that thing doing the most damage. And I mean, luckily there's limits in place or whatever, but like as far as walleyes around here,
you still got to follow them, man. You know how people are.
Oh yeah, I still got to follow them, still got to get them to bite, but like that live is not going to hurt the walleye population because they're still fussy and they're still walleyes, and it's like you still got to get them to bite, and they're only going to bite 30 minutes a day.
We actually have a clip from Al Linder. We're going to play you. Hey, Bub, here's the deal. The live sonar for them, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable what they're doing for this deal, but the long-term future is still unknown.
Yes.
That's quite literally, sorry, Al, what he said on the podcast. And I think he's right. Like, we don't know what the long-term effects of this deal are because this technology is so crazy. Yeah. But yet at the same point, I can remember when I had my first unit, it was a 350A. It actually had a trail, and I thought, oh my God, these walleyes are in trouble. Now I look back, I actually saw one on a boat this year when we were dipping minnows, and I looked at it and I was like, what a piece of shit.
Right?
Like, who's using that? And that's the case with cars or anything else, right? I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
When that came out, people said the same thing. It's cheating. It's going to ruin fishing, whatever. And I mean, people absolutely catch way more fish because of it, but it hasn't decimated the fish populations, but said the same exact thing when that came out. Like, oh yeah, they're 60 feet to the right. Like, that's tough, whatever. But yeah, in GPS and whatever, every new thing that is, I hate the term game changer, but when there is an actual game changer that comes out, like side imaging or live sonar, that like actually changes the game, it's always said that it's over. This ruins the future, So it's super interesting.
I'll tell you that Mega 360 a Humminbird has, the first time I really used it, I would say effectively, because I think even though all this technology is great, it's kind of like anything else, phones or whatever it may be, producer dude stuff. Yeah, he's using to do his job, right? The guy's using drones and stuff like that. Like, you still have to know when to use it and how to use it. And I think a lot of these guys just have all these toys. Like, I got a buddy who he buys all the stuff, then he throws it in the corner and he sells it to everybody half off because he takes zero time to learn it or to understand when to use it. You know, it's like the guy using a wrench when he needs a screwdriver. For sure. Right. So yeah, you're right. You like the walleyes, you still have to be able to go and catch them. Like, you still got to do it. If you live where I'm at, it's definitely a little easier than where you're at, or a whole lot easier. But I was just thinking, because of that owl thing, we should have like an owl off. I mean, producer dude, can you be impartial even though you hate me?
I can be impartial. Yeah, we can do it. Yep.
I haven't even tried to do this in like 8 years, so I don't even. I'll give her a go. You go first.
You let Ross go first. No, let Ross
no. Dude, Bigwater. This is called the Bigwater podcast. Oh. You are my guest. I insist you go first.
Why don't we go at the same time and have a conversation?
Oh,
Bob, that sounds like a good deal.
That's what I'm saying to you. That was really bad.
Did you do it? Yeah, Brett, I'm waiting.
No.
I'm waiting for this impersonation.
I can't do it. Oh, God,
okay. Let's start over before everybody changes the channel here. Hey, Bob. I mean, how long are you gonna wait to do the thing we talked about? I mean, we're doing an owl competition. It's about time you do the owl.
Oh, that's a really, really special situation that we're talking about right here and now. I'm telling you what, boy, this is gonna escalate into something really special.
Do you know what is special? How bad that owl impersonation is. Can I just stick a fork in this competition right now?
Yeah, let's do
it. Sorry, Al.
I honestly, if you'd have been even close, he'd have given it to you. He'd love to take any thunder.
I would. If it was close, I definitely would have given it to you.
I have never admitted or said that I was good at it. I just
no. You're right. You did not.
No. Let's just back up and just say that the fact that people like me and you who are totally different location, age, and everything, and we're still like saying if we can impersonate Al, like how awesome is Al? Al's like almost 80, and people, and that's kind of the thing about fishing that I don't get nowadays. I'm wondering your take on it, because again, producer is going to shoot me when I start this Pandora's box. But when you go to some of these shows and you've got like Dave Gens, you know, I work with Clam. Dave basically is, they say, the godfather of ice fishing. And as far as inventing stuff or whatever, you know, the flip over trap and all that,
right?
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. A lot of times these things are not, and there's some other guy or this or that, but Dave has been as instrumental as anybody. And like you said, at that show, you've got some, you know, people going by going, hey, who's this guy? Or they don't even care. I've seen the same thing with Gary Roach, who's like, to me, the legend of all legends with what he did. And are we just like grumpy old men, or is there still some things that should be, you know, paid back? Like, example, if you're into, here's an example, producer dude, with me or against me on this one. Like, I'm not into music like producer dude is, but if you're like, I don't know, the White Stripes or whatever, some newer band is, right? And you don't know who like Nirvana is, or you don't know who the Rolling Stones are, the Beatles are, and you don't kind of pay attention. You don't have to like them, but like pay attention and see, and then say that they were instrumental. Are you really even into music nowadays? You know what I mean? And same thing with fishing. Like when I hear guys all the time, they don't know who Gary Roach are or Al Linder, but they're into walleye fishing and they're trying to be the walleye guy in 2022. Like, can you even be, or can I just laugh you off the freaking stage?
It's mind blowing, man. I don't get it. I mean, it's just crazy how fast digital marketing is changing. Where, yeah, how can a kid who's obsessed with walleye fishing not know who Dave Gens is? That doesn't even make sense. Like, none of this would even be a thing without it. But I saw that at the show, at the St. Paul show. I remember like a couple of these kids walk by Dave, and like, you see someone who's like my age, whatever, they're like doing the side eye, like, holy crap, like, you know, look at that, look at that, look at that. And you got these young guns that are just like, excuse me, man, like Sobe's over here. And then there's 400 people basically starting a mosh pit around Sobe. And I get it, he's a gem, but it's like, it was sad to see also that like that young generation doesn't know where it all started. And now I just in this exact moment realize I'm old and I'm getting old.
Yeah, but again, are we pushing it that way too? Because again, I don't know the Sam guy. I'm not, we all work for the same company. I'm not throwing no shade anywhere, but there was a line for free goods, and that's what he was standing at the end of too. So are we pushing this on people?
That's smart marketing.
That is smart marketing. But again, when people say that, were they really there for their free shelter? Or were they, you know what I'm saying? What's up?
It's a hybrid of the two, man. I had met up with him after the show a couple times, and yeah, he gets bombarded. It's like I fished with Al quite a few times, actually, and you don't want to go to a gas station with him because you end up having to hold everybody's snacks and junk food and take pictures the whole time. It's unbelievable. Like, it's 4:55 in the morning, and like Al's a donut guy, and so we'll stop at a gas station and get a donut. 4:55 in the morning, nobody wants to see anybody.
He's also a Skittles guy for all you, right?
Yeah. But someone will, come running up, and man, he's like so genuinely happy to talk with that person in that moment and take the photos and stuff. And I'm like, I haven't had any coffee yet. Like, obviously I would be polite too. It doesn't matter though, because like I'm just the camera boy then, It's like, Al Linder's here. Will you hold my donuts? And this guy's got Milk Duds and Skittles and stuff, and then take 7 pictures on their phones. And
okay, so that brings me to another kind of just mental point. You fished with Al, probably never thought you ever would. Don't want to put words in your mouth, but how bad has Al whooped your ass fishing? Be honest with me,
dude. It's so bad. It's so bad. I literally have nightmares. Like when you're younger, you have these nightmares about sleeping through your final exam in college, or going to school if you got your pants on or whatever. I have nightmares about a couple of fishing trips that I've had with him. Like the one in particular, I went to film a TV show with him, and I have never been thrown around on the ground like that in my life in a boat. I mean, so I won't even be shy. He probably caught 24 walleyes, like maybe probably Baker's dozens, upper 20s. And he had 6 or 8 fish that were over 26 inches, up to 28 and a half, 28 and 3/4 or something. I never caught a walleye that day using the same baits and the same spots.
Oh shit.
I snagged a 14 or 13 incher in the belly, snap jigging, and I caught an 11-inch smallmouth. And this guy caught dozens, and not just dozens, but like 6 or 8 that are 7-pound fish.
Okay. So I'm gonna kind of attempt to help you here. Did he back end you?
I mean, the dude is a vacuum. So we were pitching jigs and snapping up shallow to start the day, like 7 to 11 feet. And so there he's, I'm getting back ended. But with how many fish he's catching, I should be able to pick up scraps. And when he sets the hook and he's hooked up, I'm like, these cameras are rolling. I need to catch a fish. So I'm like angling my cast up where he's going to cast next. I'm like,
was this for a Angling Edge TV show?
Yeah.
So did you
anything? I got to sneak one up there. And like, if I don't get bit in a minute, when he's getting close to finishing up with this fish, I'll just reel in quick and I'll go back to like, no, man, he's a vacuum. He just sucks him up. But the thing is, even when we slid out deeper, we started the day shallower, and as the day went on, it got glass calm. We slid out to like 16 to 19 foot boulders. And there it's way less like spot on the spot. We're not casting to the lip and that like specific boulder. It's like a big boulder area. I still couldn't buy a bite. And like a couple of those spots were my spots, like where I know them really well. I've spent 5-6 years fishing them or whatever. And I know what works there. I know like the areas that are best. And I still can't catch one. And he pops 2 more that are 28 and a 28 and a half. And it's just,
keep your hands up where I can see them. I don't want any suicide watch here.
Dude, I felt like I'm like, I blew it. We're never going to go fishing again. I think that was the first time we actually fished together. And I'm like, this guy is going to think I'm a fraud. I've never experienced a pain like that in my life.
I'm laughing with you. So did he kind of like ever tell you what you were doing wrong?
At the very end, I noticed the only thing I can think of, aside from he's a magician at catching fish, at the end, he said something about how he had straight mono on. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
You know what? That would have been really good for me to notice, or for you to say like 6 hours ago, because I'm running 8 or 10 pound braid. I've got a 6-8 foot fluorocarbon leader on.
In fairness, Brett, he's had many videos out about he only likes monofilament for landing ratio and for the way it swims. But
right, that was the thing. It's not, and this was clear water, but I think I had like an 8 foot leader on fluoro. Like, I haven't had an issue. Right, it wasn't the visibility; it was the
swims
action
different.
Of the jig.
Yeah, it swims different.
That mono floating, and that bait, instead of being like as darty, it's got a little more hang time, a little more glide. And man, did he wallop me. And he did not say he had straight mono on until the last half hour of the day or something. And I was just like, oh, really?
Welcome to the big leagues, McComas.
Yeah, dude. Oh, my goodness.
But you know what? I mean, your pain here is going to be our gain. There are times where it doesn't matter. My buddy Steve Pollock calls it broken clock fishing, where a couple times a day you can do whatever you want. You know, like we talked about with the high or the, low light for the walleyes versus high light.
Yep.
And I think it's the same thing with this. There are little things that you can choose to feel that it doesn't make a difference, but I know it does.
Oh man, I like that day was the most eye-opening experience for me ever, because I was literally like, all right, that's it, I'm putting on the same bait as you, because you start and you use 2 different things, try to figure out what they want. All of a sudden dude catches 3-4 up on you and you're like, all right, I'll switch to whatever that profile bait is, and then still goes 3-4 up and it's like, okay, I want that color. And eventually it's like, yeah, that obviously giant difference.
And I'm going to circle back to, because again, I'm simple-minded. I'm going to go back to the seminar I gave at the St. Paul Ice Show, kind of along these lines, where it sounds crazy now, and I'm interested to hear your talk on it. But so on Erie, we tend to use heavier things because of current, right? You often have to have minimum of a 1/2 ounce lure, like a buckshot, 1/2, 3/4, something like that. Now, when you put minnows on that, I've weighed them, bro. You're ounce, 1/4 ounce, 1/8, whatever, right? Most of these rods I call Minnesota medium. I use that in the seminar. It didn't go over very well. Basically, it means it's like an ultralight for me, right? Yes. And it doesn't present the stuff properly. And I would say one of the best ice fishermen on the planet, and a great friend of mine, producer dude, you know him, Shorty. Shorty is a magician. He is an owl. Like he could fish with owl type of deal, right? And ice fishing, he'd smoke owl. I'm just telling you. I mean, when you have a day with him and you do as good as him, you've just basically broke a world record type of thing. Yes. And like 20 some years ago, he started taking G Loomis rods, like full G Loomis SGR 721, 722s. Now, even at that time, 20 years ago, those rods were $300 and some.
Yeah.
Dude, he cut all the guides off, cut the thing down, and built an ice rod out of it.
Wow.
Now, guess who has an IMX and a GLX who did the same thing? This guy. Nowadays it's a lot better, because I probably got $600 in those rods, retail, right? Let alone my time, because I built my own. Yeah. But now G Loomis has factory rods to 41 inches, right. 39, 41 inches, which even by some guys' standards, I guess, is a little bit short. But you can present that lure totally different. Totally.
Dude, and the most expensive ice rod possible just doesn't seem that expensive compared to open water. You know what I mean? You don't have a $700 ice rod.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing is I say this all the time, and people look at me and I'm like, man, I feel like you guys don't understand the elephant in the room. Ice fishing, I've watched these things on camera. They have nowhere to go, right? They're not battling other things as much. The waves and all that, like on my neck of the woods, they don't move as much, right? The bait's not moving as much. It's not as affected because you have essentially a stabilized temperature. And I know you can argue that, but basically like the fish are in the barrel and you just need to go to the barrel. But the problem is it's like a swimming pool, right? They have a lot of time to, let's just say, interpret if you're doing a good or bad job of displaying that lure.
For sure.
Right? And again, not those 30 minutes early, 30 minutes late. It's those fish in between that you're going to try to get or not. And having something as simple as a rod, like I designed a series of rods for Clam, the Katana. It's basically a custom rod series with kind of working man's price. The same thing. We got those things out to 42 inches.
Yo.
Which again, it feels like, man, in 2021, why are we only now getting here? Same thing with the one I designed that greenback case for Lakewood. It's like there wasn't a good case that could put 44-inch rods. Yeah, there's some of those gun cases or whatever you want to call them, but dude, you can only put a couple rods in something that's just freaking like a giant deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like you got to feel like you're carrying like an RPG out there. So, I mean, are you surprised it's taken so long? I mean, Thorn Brothers, I think we would have to give them credit for kind of starting this custom craze, but
dude, the long rod thing, it's just once you fish with one and you go to pick up that 28-inch or 30-inch, which like that's been the benchmark or like the typical ice rod for 20 years, 28-inch. You pick that up and you just feel like I'm bringing a knife to a gunfight. You know, it's like you go to set the hook and you're 5 feet above your head and reeling like a psycho to try to catch up and stuff. And it's just like, why do we even make these short ones? I get it if you're in a fish house where you don't have room because the rod tips are hidden or whatever. But I think a few years from now, it's going to be difficult to find 30-inch rods. I mean, I think 40-inch is going to get close to like kind of the normalcy. You're already seeing them up to 44. Everything about it is better other than transportation's a little harder. But now you got companies making cases that are longer. And I mean, if you're fishing inside is a situation where you need that short stick. But
I mean, full disclosure, I use a 2-person clam shack for most of my fishing. It only has one seat in it. You can ask producer, dude.
True story.
Right, man? Well, now they got, I just saw it at the show, that big giant one man with the X2 poles or whatever,
the 100. The 100 I showed you?
Yes,
yes.
Single flip over, taller, like you can use 40-inch plus rods in a one-man shack. Like, dude,
I begged them to let me take that to Cascade last year, and I got a hard no. Not having to adjust the poles and still use your same equipment, huge, man, huge. Sure. And I understand that some of this stuff is money and space, issues for people, but you can argue that, and it is what it is, but you cannot argue the effectiveness of what this gear does for you. Ice fishing, man, people do not pay enough attention to the presentation. I'm just telling you.
For sure. Yeah, you hinted at some stuff there, but you didn't really talk about it. I don't want to make you backtrack, but when you're talking about using those bigger, heavier baits and stuff in the current Minnesota medium, I like that term. If it's too mushy, too soft, just loading up, you're trying to put specific action into that bait. If you're just mushing up, it's not translating in that bait the same as some of those stouter whooping sticks. I mean, dude, then you are the one putting the action in that bait and telling it how it's going to move.
But as important, I use this in just in this last seminar, and the guys kind of laughing, but I said, I'm serious. I said, you got to go top gun on it before he was all crazy when Tom Cruise was normal. And you got to put the air brakes on. You also have to be able, the most important part is stopping it.
Yeah.
Because people overpresent that lure because you get the bloop, bloop, bloop. If you're watching this on video, I hope you get to see my hand going up and down. Yeah. It's you want to be able to stop that jello effect.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And what I do is I load a rod at a seminar and I let it go. And then I do it like with my G Loomis. And they look and they're like, oh, and the other one's like a diving board.
Yes.
Loomis is back to 0. And it as important as you got to be able to stop and start so that you're not over presenting that, because again, people listen to this, we don't have any graphics for you. We're very low budget. But when you move your rod 6 inches, you're moving that lure in some cases 3 feet in the water. 6 inches raised does not mean 6 inches pop. So those little things are the deal. And that's why that buddy sitting next to you, it's not anything to do that he's got this chrome and blue buckshot and you don't have that. It's the presentation in most cases. That's why my buddy Shorty can outfish you with a freaking pocket knife. I mean, he's dialed in with that stuff for sure.
Watching stuff on cameras, man, is eye-opening. To your point where you're like, if I'm moving my rod 6 inches up, how can that bait move any more than that? But then you look on a camera and 6 inches up moves that bait 3 feet out to the side, or it's mind-blowing how little. I was doing some fall jig and wrap for crappie stuff and dropped a camera down. And I was like, just trying to barely move like this. And that jig and wrap was like, woo, woo, like way too much. They wouldn't bite it. because they're crappies. They're not walleyes, like reaction by jumping on it, And I was only trying to do like the softest little wiggle. And this is like 44 feet of water. So I'm like, if I'm going like this, that thing can't even be moving down there with mono. On the camera, it was like crappies would be coming up to it, but it'd be darting so fast they wouldn't eat it. I'm like, so okay, stop, hold as still as I can, don't do anything. But just from the little micro motions of you trying to hold still, wind, boat moving, that thing is like constantly doing stuff. And then I got bit, and I just.
Well, I will admit that I've had my ass whooped pretty bad too, fishing. I mean, Gary Roach and Dave Hansen when I was in my teens, dude, it's like a boxer deal. You know what I mean? Like you're loving every minute of it, but yet you want to shoot yourself, right? And I think that you got to take those lumps. But nowadays, I think that because of YouTube and because make sure you check out our channel, that you can do a lot of learning before you get there. So you're not like your head in the clouds, right? And for me with ice fishing, I'm going to tell you the number one thing, and I say this in every seminar, and I have like 1 out of 1,000 people that listen, but the ones that do come back and they're like, oh my God, man, it's so simple. It's the elephant in the room. Take an aqua view, okay, and look at what you're doing.
Yep.
Put it 10 feet away from you, put it 5 feet away from you, put it on the outside. No, and that's how I taught myself how to use a jig and wrap. Because the old farts, when I was literally like not old enough to drive and we were on ice fishing out here, and these dudes would fish a jig and wrap and they'd always tell me, maybe you should put on a pimple. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't want to use that. You guys are smoking them. Yeah, you ain't ready for that, son. It was like an old Western gunfight. You ain't ready for that.
Training wheels.
And dude, I got my ass lit on that. Right now, I'm pretty damn good with a jig and wrap through the ice. But I have spent so much time watching that this does that. And as you change from mono or a different rod, it changes it yet again. And the best thing you can do is learn is what this motion translates into this, to your point. And
exactly.
I think that people, most are not going to take that time, but if they did, they would save themselves a lot of time.
You learn so much, man. And also like with that Humminbird Mega Live, to actually see some of the stuff that you learn only from cameras in the past, it's almost like a hybrid where you can see the moods of fish and stuff on there like you only could ever on a camera until now. And watch like, here's what I'm doing. That fish didn't like that. It turned around, went the other way. Or it's coming in fast. It's liking that or whatever. Like you see yourself just change your cadence, or like, you stop moving your bait because there's a fish coming to it and they're like, whoop, I'm out of here. Or they slowly
stop, collaborate, and listen.
Stop, collaborate, and listen. Yes, it's going to be in my head now all day. The things you learn of the mood and like how they react to what you do, you can only underwater cameras and now with live stuff is like the only way to learn those minute details.
So yeah, I think that, to me, the funny thing is when you're out there and you're not catching them, like I tend to go to the things that I know the best and I have consistently had the success on. Mm-hmm. What is your thoughts on that? Only because when I'm guiding 4 or 5 guys and I've got a guy that doesn't know anything about ice fishing, guys tend to do one thing, and whether it works or it doesn't, if you don't fish a lot, right? And regularly I will see a guy who knows nothing. He just knows one thing. And 9 out of 10 days that doesn't work. But when nobody's catching him, that dude's catching him, and I'm watching to see what he's doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's something that's out there. And I guess my point of that is have you seen that? But more importantly, do you think that we don't try some random crap when everyone else just says they're not biting?
100%. Everybody gets stuck in their ways. I don't like change either. I've got like, we all have the 3 baits or 5 baits that we always start with. And because you have those confidence days in and you're like, well, they smoked this one last time or whatever. If they're not eating this, they're not eating anything and stuff. And it's just, that's the beauty about fishing with other people. Everybody does something a little different. And you learn like, okay, Joe Schmo is whatever, tail hooking a fathead and leaving it 6 inches off bottom and he's just crushing the fish, but I'm hooking it in the dorsal fin and it's horizontal and my minnow isn't moving around that much, but his tail hook is getting out to the sides or whatever. And it's like, why don't I ever tail hook? Why do I always do it in the back? Well, because it's how I've always done it. Yeah, you constantly need to be tweaking and adjusting, and it's so hard to do solo, right? Because you can only do so much. that's the beauty of fishing with a group and trying, like, forcing each other to do different things.
Are you familiar with the Winnipeg Wrap?
The Winnipeg Wrap?
Yeah, and I'm not talking about Tupac.
Well, is this like a buffalo chicken wrap? Is it like a wrapping wrap? Is it
no, they wrap the minnow around the treble points, like they set it on top and wrap it around.
Yes, yup. It looks nappy, but it works, and it's the only way to keep it on there.
I had guys out here bring that down and show me that, and I was like, that is naughty.
I had never seen that online or anything until, I think I was up in, I know it was Manitoba for sure. I think I was like on Dauphin or something, and the salties were just so mushy, they're falling off every second. And I look over at my buddy Eric, and it's like, how have you used the same one this whole time? Yeah, it's what? All three hooks have the same minnow just wrapped around there like a little ball.
Yeah, it's wrapped around, and like our little emeralds, like it's crazy. It's, again, another one of those things, never thought to do that. Am I not thinking enough? I don't know. But so since I know your time is valuable and producer dude wants to shoot me already, and you lost the owl off. I mean, producer dude, how bad on a scale of 1 to 10 did he lose the owl off?
I'm not even going to say, because out of deference to our guest.
Sorry, Brett. That's bad. He usually likes the guest way better than me.
I'm going to be okay. I'll be all right.
Give us something you learned from Big Al. I mean, you can teach us, because I mean, I've learned a shit pile from Al.
I learned that walleyes are shallower than you would think all year long from him. Like, eye-opening, going July or August, whatever, going up in 6-7 foot weeds, snapping plastics, and boom, 27-inch walleye on pressured waters where, like, if you just catch 2 walleyes is good, and like a 22, 23 is a big fish, and like we'll be on whatever otter tail pre-fishing for Lundmania, and dude will slide up in like 6 foot and pop a 27 and a 26, and it's like, we got to go. Like, you catch one of those and you're going to win that tournament.
Did he say it, or did he say, Bub, we got to get out of here and protect the fish?
Yeah, I really want to try to do it again, but I'm not gonna. So.
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't. Just let that cat lie.
But just how many walleyes live in just dirty, shallow, not dirty water. I mean, it's dirty how shallow the water is all year long in open water, middle of summer, 80-degree surface temps. And like, you're going where you would be throwing a craw tube for largemouth bass, and all you're doing differently is you're fishing way faster. Like, if you start slowing down, if you're catching bass, you know you're fishing too slow. As soon as you're not snapping that thing hard enough, you get largemouth, you get rock bass, you get perch, whatever.
Now, see, it took him, producer dude, but he got the tip. It came in. That is the tip right there.
It's like a hook set every single time, and then that's when you catch walleyes. But if you're catching anything other than walleyes, you're fishing it too slow, for sure. It was eye-opening. But there's so many, I don't even know where to start, because there's like, every time I'm in the boat with them, I learn something like that, where it's like, what have I been doing my whole life? You know, I'm trying to like dance that plastic, and I feel like I'm snap jigging, but like, you can't even call it snap jigging. He's like hook set jigging, you know, like as hard as you can do it. I remember the first
moving
time
that bait. It's moving that bait.
Dude, it's insane. The first time I ever did it with him was on Ottertail, and 40 minutes into the day, my arm was cramped up like Charlie horse in your arm. I don't know what it's called, but I was like, how is this 70 whatever year old dude?
He used to have that little brace thing 30 years ago on his stuff.
How is he doing it all day, harder than me all day? And I'm 40 minutes in. I'm like, I need to rest my arm. I need to switch arms. I need to like find one of those old desks that you had in elementary school so I can crack my back on it.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. Okay, Brett, I don't even know if we're allowed to do this yet. I don't even know if this is official. I mean, obviously there's nothing changing hands here, like money or anything, or free tackle. Can we talk about what we're going to, I think, be doing? Is this official yet? As the Target Walleye Man Bigwater Fishing Partnership, can we talk about it?
If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, then yes. Does it involve you being fiery and saying what's on your mind?
tell these fine people that this is probably the first time that they're going to be able to hear it. What are we doing with Target Walleye?
So one of my favorite things about talking with Ross is listening to him rant. whether it is about a bite, a bait, a person, coffee, whatever. I just love listening to this dude rant. So it's like, why don't we do something like Ross's rants? Like, dude, just lay it out there. Tell us how you really feel.
Producer dude, is this a rabbit hole?
Well, I love that he said it's his favorite thing, because it's my least favorite thing.
And maybe it's because I have it in smaller portions. I'm not with you every day.
I try to avoid how Ross really feels about stuff, but no, these will be entertaining for sure.
We try to work ahead here. There's full disclosure, because I felt like that we needed some more truth in the fishing world, and I don't really want to tell people too much about them, but I think the first couple that we have shot, they are very, very relatable, and I don't think anybody's not going to say, never thought about that. I think everyone's going to be like, you know what? Yeah, that's some BS right there. I think that's what they're going to say.
I'm so pumped, man. And I know I'm not the only one, because I've done a handful of like rant of the day in a Target Walleye email, and it's that exact thing where it's like, why is this like this instead of like this? And everybody who fishes thinks that, but it's still like this. And there's always positive feedback. It's always like, what the heck? Why are we not doing more of this? Let's
a little teaser. The first couple involve bikinis and boat launches. That's all you need to know.
These are a few of my favorite things.
McComas, thank you for giving us your time. I appreciate it. Who knows what's going to happen with Target Walleye people there, but they're going to keep pumping out some good content. And make sure you check us out at bigwaterfishing.com. Producer dude, we'll see if I need help here. YouTube.
Yes.
Bigwater Fishing.
Yes.
Instagram, Bigwater Fishing.
Yes.
Facebook, Bigwater Fishing. You seeing a trend here? And then the podcast can be found at our website, of course. But if you want to go right to Spotify, Stitcher, Google, or Apple.
Got it. All right. I think you don't need me anymore for the reminders.
I appreciate that. I actually listened to it I put the Spotify app on, and it's kind of neat. You can get those.
So you listen to yourself.
I went to see if they actually would load on my phone. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Any rate, thanks. McComas, thank you for your time. We're appreciative, and we'll have to do this again. And I want you to think of some owl stories, or, when you got your butt whooped with something, whatever it may be. We're gonna have to write them down, because I know how you guys are. You don't want to throw it out on the table like I do. That's cool.
Dude, thank you so much for having me and putting up with me rambling. I would love to rant and ramble with you anytime. And I'm sorry, I'll answer my phone next time. Bye.
I didn't even go there, did I? I let you off the hook.
Oh, you touched on it. I know it's an issue.
Until the next episode, thanks for joining us on the Bigwater Podcast.